The storm loosened its grip without warning. One morning, Rowan woke to a sound he hadn't heard in weeks: water. A slow, irregular drip from the eaves outside his window. It wasn't warmth exactly, but it was change. And change in Pinecross Valley felt almost dangerous after so much stillness. The world beyond the glass looked altered. Snow no longer lay perfectly smooth. It sagged, cracked, and collapsed in places, revealing dark earth beneath. The sky hung low and grey, undecided. Silas noticed it too. He stood longer than usual on the porch, hands braced on the railing, studying the valley like it might speak back. "This is the part folks don't respect," he said. "They think winter ends when the snow stops falling." Rowan joined him, pulling his coat tighter. "But it doesn't." Silas nodded. "It just changes shape." They spent the morning clearing paths, not because they needed to go anywhere, but because motion had become necessary. Rowan worked harder than usual, muscles burning, breath ragged. The thaw made the snow heavier, stubborn. Every shovel load felt like lifting something that didn't want to be moved. Midway through the task, Rowan's boot slipped. He went down hard, shoulder slamming into packed ice. Pain shot up his arm, sharp enough to steal his breath. Silas was beside him instantly. "Don't move." Rowan laughed weakly, not planning to. Silas helped him inside, guiding him to the chair by the fire. The injury wasn't severe, just bruised pride and sore muscle, but the closeness felt intimate, in a way neither commented on. As Silas wrapped Rowan's shoulder, Rowan blurted, "I wasn't always like this." Silas didn't look up. "People rarely are." Rowan stared at the flames, words pressing against his chest. "I used to be certain about who I was, what I wanted." Silas tightened the cloth just enough to be useful. "Certainty doesn't age well." That afternoon, as Rowan rested, Silas left the house for longer than usual. When he returned, he carried a small tin box, its edges worn smooth. He set it on the table between them. "I don't show this to many people," Silas said. Rowan didn't touch it. "You don't have to." "I know." Silas opened the lid anyway. Inside were letters, folded carefully, handwritten, some yellowed with age, others newer, creased but preserved. Silas picked one up, eyes distant. "My son wrote to me after he left," he said, even when he didn't know what to say. Rowan felt something shift inside him, something fragile. "No, did you write back?" Silas smiled faintly. "Every time." There was a long pause. "I didn't," Rowan said quietly. "When it mattered." Silas met his gaze then, really looked at him. "Regret doesn't freeze," he said. "It waits." The words hit harder than the fall. That night, Rowan sat alone in the spare room, snowmelt dripping steadily outside. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper he hadn't touched since arriving in Pinecross. A letter, unsent. He'd written it months ago, in a room that no longer felt real. He'd folded it, unfolded it, rewritten it twice. Then he'd packed it away like a dangerous object. Now, with winter loosening its hold, Rowan read it again. The words were clumsy, honest, afraid. He saw himself in every line, how he'd chosen silence because it felt safer than being wrong. For the first time, he didn't put the letter back. The next day, Rowan walked into town. The path was muddy, treacherous, but visible again. Pinecross looked different in thaw, less like a secret, more like a place. Alma saw him through the store window and raised an eyebrow. "Well," she said, pouring coffee, "look who decided to rejoin the world." Rowan smiled. "Just borrowing it for a minute." He asked for paper, for an envelope, for a stamp. Alma didn't comment. She simply slid them across the counter. Back at Calder Ridge, Rowan sat at the table and wrote, not to fix the past, not to undo damage, but to acknowledge it. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't explain himself away. He told the truth. When he finished, his hands trembled, not from cold, but from release. Silas watched from the doorway. "You ready to let it go?" he asked. Rowan sealed the envelope. "I think I'm ready to stop carrying it." Silas nodded once, approval quiet but unmistakable. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the ridgeline, the valley glowed, not warm, but alive. Snow melted in thin veins across the land, revealing the shape of what had always been there. Rowan stood outside longer than usual, breathing in air that no longer cut his lungs. For the first time since arriving, he felt something close to grounded. Winter wasn't over, but neither was he. Spring never arrived in Pinecross Valley the way people imagine it. There were no sudden bursts of color, no warm wind rushing in to undo winter's work. Instead, the season crept forward cautiously, testing the land 1 inch at a time. Snow retreated in patches, stubborn in shadowed places, and the earth beneath emerged dark and wet, breathing again. Rowan noticed the change in small ways first. The air softened. His joints ached less in the mornings. The animals shifted restlessly, sensing something new before they understood it. Even Silas seemed different, still quiet, still steady but less guarded, like a door left slightly ajar. The letter left Pinecross on the weekly train. Rowan watched it go from the station platform, standing where he had first arrived months ago with nothing but a bag and a refusal to feel. This time he didn't wait until the train disappeared. He turned away while it was still in motion, heart steady, hands empty. That surprised him most. Life at Calder Ridge continued, not unchanged, but adjusted. Fences were repaired properly now instead of temporarily. Silas talked more, not about the past, not directly, but about the land, about what survived and why. Rowan listened, learning the language of patience, of staying put when leaving would be easier. One afternoon, Silas handed Rowan a set of keys. "For the shed," he said, "and the south pasture." Rowan stared at them. "You trust me that much?" Silas shrugged. "Trust grows like anything else. You tend it." That night, Rowan found the child's room open again, not as a shrine, but as a space. Silas stood inside, holding the wooden horse. "I think," Silas said slowly, "it's time this room belonged to the present again." Rowan didn't respond right away. He understood the weight of that decision. Letting go didn't mean forgetting. It meant allowing something else to exist alongside the loss. They cleared the room together the next day, carefully, respectfully. Nothing was thrown away. Some things were boxed, others placed where they could be seen without hurting. When it was done, the room felt lighter, not empty, but ready. A reply came 2 weeks later. Rowan almost didn't open it. He sat at the kitchen table, envelope in hand, the paper thin but heavy with possibility. Silas pretended not to notice, carving quietly by the fire. The letter inside was shorter than Rowan expected. There was no anger, no absolution, just acknowledgement. "You didn't say everything right, but you finally said something. I hope you're well. I hope you found peace, wherever you are." Rowan folded the letter slowly. It wasn't closure, but it was enough. Spring reached Pinecross in earnest shortly after. The ground softened, paths widened, and the valley revealed scars left by winter, broken fence posts, fallen branches, work yet to be done. Rowan tackled it willingly. Purpose felt different now. It didn't burn, it steadied. Elma visited one afternoon, watching Rowan repair a gate with practiced ease. "You look like someone who stopped running," she said. Rowan smiled. "Guess I got tired." She nodded. "That'll do it." As summer hinted at its approach, Silas made an offer without ceremony. "You can stay," he said one evening. "Not as help, as part of this place." Rowan didn't answer immediately. He walked outside, looked across the valley, the ridges, the sky, the land that had held him when he couldn't hold himself. "I will," he said finally. "If you're sure." Silas met his gaze. "I am." The seasons would continue. Winters would return. Loss would always exist somewhere in the shape of things. But Pinecross Valley had taught Rowan what survival really meant. Not endurance alone, but connection. Not escape, but presence. As the sun set behind the mountains, Rowan stood on the porch of Calder Ridge. Keys in his pocket, breath steady, feet planted firmly in thawed earth. He hadn't come here to stay, but staying, he realized, was the bravest thing he'd ever done.